Ready to elevate your life? Join me on the Vitality Vibe podcast for inspiring conversations on holistic wellness, personal growth, and sustainable success while nourishing your body, mind, and soul. It's time to reclaim your radiance. In the Blue Zone of Ikaria, Greece, the residents believe that the only reason they've lived past 100 years is not because of what they eat, but because every night a chair is sat at their table, hoping that somebody they don't know shows up and shares that meal with them. They never ask each other, "What did you eat last night?" but always ask, "Who did you eat with last night?" My hope with this podcast is that you leave a seat open at your table and welcome today's guest to your meal in a toast to the biodiversity of your nourishment. Welcome to the Vitality Vibe podcast. This is the premiere episode, and I'm honored to invite today's guest to the table. This guest is very near and dear to my heart, as he's my husband, Dr. Mitchel Schwindt. Mitchel is known as Mitchel MD. He's a former ER doc turned entrepreneur. He's now a certified heroic performance coach, professional plant-based chef, consultant, and a bit of a nomad. His current focus is on guiding his 20,000 plus students on a journey to optimize health and accelerate wealth to create their ideal future. So get ready to reclaim your radiance and welcome in to the Vitality Vibe podcast. Well, welcome to the premiere episode of our podcast today, and I'm honored to bring to the table Dr. Mitchel Schwindt, who is my husband. Welcome, Mitchel. Thanks for being here.
So stoked to be the premier guest on this brand new record-shaking, groundbreaking show.
In a few years, you can look back and say, I was the first guest.
I'm the first guest. I don't even know what we're talking about. So this will be off the cuff completely.
I know, right? Well, the whole premise is bringing someone new to the table, bringing their unique experiences, having an open seat at the table of life, essentially, and opening your heart and your ideas to what they have to bring. So I'm excited because, you have an incredible journey, and we just did your intro here. So I'm excited to see what your answers are. So I'm going to start with our first question. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. So how have your unique traditions, beliefs, rituals, or practices shaped your journey towards a more fulfilling life?
Wow, that's a big question. There's like a lot of like historical things from childhood in there. I think a lot of that has been discarded. I guess the point that I think just pops up recently, just from stuff I've been listening to, is that a lot of people carry around baggage from the past and they feel guilty about shedding that because they're worried about hurting feelings, and they often adopt behaviors, traditions, and careers, lifestyles that no longer serve them. And I think just being willing to be honest with yourself and have the candid, difficult conversations with others, and chart your own course. Find what serves you, serves your family, what ignites your soul, and make the difficult decisions. Unfortunately, sometimes it's a clean break. Other times it's just sort of a slowly stepping away from relationships that are toxic. And I think in the end, when you look back on this, you'll see that your path, although it was much different than the rest of your family, it serves you well, and it's created an amazing life.
That's really interesting because, you talk about shedding, almost like shedding some of those traditions, some of those things that you've been brought up with. Can you get more specific?
About the traditions or about the process?
Just even the process, or just more specific about how it's been in your life, like things that were seemingly important to you early in life that you've shedded and traded in for new traditions, new ways of thinking?
Oh man, that's just huge. It can go from anything from I think owning a home, it was always my dad was in finance, and so traditional American dream is to own your own home, and we have owned several homes and made some poor decisions about home ownership, and shedding those beliefs and adopting a different mindset has allowed some financial growth and shown our children hopefully that there is a different path that is different from the traditional American beliefs that can set them up in a very positive position for the future. Another common one, less common in our children's generation, but our generation, the church, growing up in the church, that this was something you did every weekend, no matter how you felt. And I sort of liken it to professional mumbling. People go there and their heart's not there, their mindset, their attitude, and their intention is not there. They're just there fulfilling a sense of duty or obligation that was created probably through their own upbringing. And I don't want to say it's a time waste, but in my mind, it is a time waste. I think God is everywhere, or your spirit or your creator, your energy is often in nature, or it's in meditation, or it's in your passion of playing an instrument. It doesn't have to be from someone wearing a robe and standing up front and everybody half-heartedly mumbling. So that was a big shed and a big point of contention in my family. Particularly, my parents still follow that belief very closely, and I'm not criticizing them for it. They have their own beliefs, and I have mine. I think it's just about accepting and adopting things that serve you, and accepting that people are different. Not everybody is going to be the same. They shouldn't be the same. That would be super boring.
Yeah. So in light of that, what traditions have you adopted that have served you in this realm right now where you are at today?
I would say the tradition of being flexible, that not everything has to happen on the time frame and schedule that you'd like it, or that the calendar says it has to happen. Kids that live across the country, jobs that aren't as flexible for some as others, and realizing that it's about being together as a family or being with friends, whenever that may be, if it's, December 24th or December 4th. It shouldn't really matter. It's the intention and what you feel in your heart that's really the most important piece of that.
I like that. That's awesome. So tell me if there's specific connections or experience that have been pivotal in your life that have nourished your soul and given you a sense of purpose.
Well, when I was in college, I met this Pi-Fi who had a collection of markers. That sort of changed the career. I mean, sorry, the trajectory of my life. But on a more serious note, I mean, I think we all have people that have touched us in some way, even if it's just something as simple as a math teacher in high school, encouraging you to push yourself beyond your comfort level and stretch, and maybe end up with can I swear on this podcast?
You can do whatever you want.
A shit ton of homework when your friends are out screwing around and you've got 2 advanced math classes, but in the end, it pushes you into the sciences and helps you get exam scores and get into medical school and get the career that you want. That's one thing. In my own personal life, just going back to high school, it's always been martial arts, not the violence aspect of it, but the mindset aspect of it. I just recently wrote a blog article about how martial arts training actually saved my life during a scuba diving accident or equipment malfunction. And that's something that I've recently taken up again. It's been intermittent throughout the last 40 plus years. And I think the mindset and the way to see problems, see challenges, to center yourself, and to, sort of apply not only martial arts or ancient Eastern philosophy and wisdom, but also, combining that with stoicism. I think those two mindsets and philosophies are very powerful, particularly in the challenges that we're all facing in today's modern society and modern economy in the United States, at least.
Can you give us an example, like in your life where, I mean, you talk about the scuba accident, but is there any other examples in your life where that martial arts training, that stoicism philosophy really played out well for you?
I would say pausing and getting in the gap, adopting a stoic philosophy of preferred indifference. Like, obviously, you'd love to sit in first class, but if you don't get a first class seat, you're still in the same plane. You're going to the same destination. You're going to arrive at the same time. You might get off 5 minutes later. but whoop-de-doo, it's sort of trying to get into the gap between responding immediately and instinctively, which is just the normal human tendency to react, to strike back almost like a snake. And if you can just pause and get in the gap, take a breath, which is oftentimes particularly challenging for someone like me, who tends to think fast and react fast. My own coach just gave me I'll just share two simple strategies. One is called seating on the bus. And so just imagine you're on a bus going home from school and you're a sixth grader, and the kids are being disruptive, over the person in front of you or behind you is picking on you. The bus driver is just going to reseat you. Just the same concept can be applied to your attitude. If you're in a pissy mood, or you're crabby, or you're short, or whatever, just try to reseat or reframe your attitude or your mindset. The thing that I think makes me laugh when I visualize it, for some people may not get this, but if you've ever watched Seinfeld, Cosmo Kramer, and he, comes running into Jerry's apartment, and he's like, oh. And so I find myself often when I travel that's sort of the thing I'm saying out loud in my head, and sort of smirking and laughing despite the chaos or the disruption or the delays or the annoying person sitting next to me eating a full chicken with a plate of biscuits that's spilling all over my lap and his as well. But yeah, those are two strategies that I like.
That's awesome. So you had a very traditional education, and you've taken it very untraditional. Can you tell us a little bit about that journey?
Oh man, that's like a 2-hour discussion. I think probably in my second year of emergency medicine residency, I just looked around at all the people that I had been looking up to for the past 18 months, and I realized that very few of them were actually happy. Very few of them were actually in relationships that were working. Quite a few of them were divorced. Some were going through lawsuits, and a lot of them were looking to do something different, trying to start companies and try to capitalize on their skill set and their knowledge, but not be awake nights, evenings, weekends, and holidays in the ER. And so I sort of saw that early on before I even got my attending badge, if you will, and began just exploring and dipping my toes into opportunities, going to conferences, trying things, failing a lot, which is just more information than actually failure. And still try things and fail at things, but it just kind of reshapes, almost like a river going down a new pathway. When a river overflows its banks, it's going to spread out over the ground, and eventually it's going to find a channel in a course that channels this energy. And so I think it's important to try different things, to be curious. One of the things about healthcare education, you're just forced to be a self-starter and a self-learner, otherwise you were never going to make it. And so that same curiosity remains 30 plus years later, where I'm taking courses, I'm going to conferences, I'm trying new things, I'm learning new things. And I think that having a perpetual student growth mindset is the difference between satisfaction versus stagnation and despair.
Awesome. So let's pretend we're sitting at a dinner table, and we're going around the dinner table and we're answering this question. What is one thing that you would like to share with everyone at this table that may transform their life?
That's a hard one. I'm going to try to steal from a movie I saw in high school. I won't get the phrase right, but it's a powerful concept. It's basically the endless stretches of the galaxy and the cosmos are yours. They're all there for the taking. They live inside of you. They're your imagination. All you have to do is reach out and grab them and start living your truest self, your truest life.
That's awesome. That's a perfect way to end. Mic drop right there. This has been fantastic. This is just a touch of a conversation that we could have at a dinner table with you, Mitchel. And so I appreciate you being here on the Reclaim Your Radiance podcast today. And thanks so much. Any other parting words before we go?
I'm honored to be your first guest. I thank you for your time, and I applaud you on your effort to make your own dent in the universe.
Yeah, excellent. All right, listeners. We hope that brought some vitality to your vibe, and we'll see you on the next episode of our podcast. Cheers.
Cheers.